Hey everybody, it's Nate again with Indianapolis Pinball. Today we are looking at a shuffleboard. United's Aristocrat. It's actually made by Williams, which is nice because this is going to come in handy, I have a feeling, on this repair, because the board set is actually a Williams board set, the same used in several pinball machines. So, not really sure, just got here, don't know what's going on yet, so let's fire it up and see what happens. Okay, so when the game powers up, it's actually putting up this code up in the top screen here, this score display. Some people think that that's actually an error code. It's really not. Really what it is it's telling you the number of the game as originally released. So a lot of times when you turn on your machine and you're getting that error up, same applies for a pinball machine. If you're getting that error up on an early solid-state Williams machine, 9 times out of 10, that's pointing towards your batteries being bad or your RAM being bad. So sometimes what you can get it to do is, if you power cycle it quickly, now we have a proper boot up here. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. And now that I've already got memory stored in the RAM chip, it will boot. If I let it sit for a while, it's going to go right back to that code up in the top left corner. So now it's time to open up the boards, the back box, and take a look at the boards. Quick thing here before getting into the boards, you'll notice that the score displays use the same master display board and subsequent player boards, just like a regular pinball machine. Only there's a 6-player setup here versus just a standard 4-player setup. But very similar to most of the early solid-state Williams games. Okay, so taking a look, and again you'll notice a very familiar board set here. This is a System 4 board, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a System 4. Anyway, the batteries were on here. I did pull them. They are dead, kind of like I had assumed. This game also uses a 5101 RAM chip. And so since I've pulled the batteries, I do have a 5101 NVRAM in stock, so I'm going to pull this chip. Thankfully, it's already been socketed, so that makes our job much easier and faster. So I'll be pulling that RAM chip off and probably just throwing it away and throwing a NVRAM 5101 in its place. Visual inspection on the fuses. Definitely looks like we've got a couple blown fuses here. Looks like the 8 amp fuse and the 2.5 amp fuse are blown. So we will be checking those proper with a multimeter and replacing those, and making sure that they are being replaced with the actual value that the manual says to put in. You never want to overfuse. You're just going to create a big fire hazard. So we'll pop in the NVRAM, change out those fuses, and see what happens. Just a quick note here. You'll notice that on all these chips, they have a little notch on these chips. This is basically just to tell you what direction, orientation these are supposed to go. You'll notice on the 5101 RAM chip, the notch looks a little bit different, but it's still the notch there. So I've got my 5101 NVRAM, and you'll notice that it also has a little notch. So I want to make sure that I put this chip in facing the same direction as the original chip. This is very important. One thing I want to point out real quick, I get a lot of people asking me how to properly test fuses. It's very simple. You want to take your multimeter and you want it to dial it up to the diode test. Let me see if I can get a better look at that. That triangle with the line going through it and the vertical line next to it, that's the diode symbol. You'll also see on most meters it looks like a sideways Wi-Fi signal. That's really just telling you that that's the sound setting. You're getting the good tone on those. And so you're basically just going to take your multimeter and see if I can do this one-handed here. You're just going to touch each lead on each side of the fuse. If it's a good fuse, you should get good tone and get a response from your multimeter. So that fuse we know is good. That fuse is not. it's making a little blip, but it's not getting a steady pulse. That is a blown fuse. That is a blown fuse. I'm gonna move this away a little bit here. And that's a good fuse. So, kind of like I thought, they did look bad, but you always want to check. Never rely on visuals only. Always want to check your fuses with a multimeter. So we're going to pop out these two fuses and replace them with the proper values. That would be an 8 amp and a 2.5 amp slow blow. Okay, so we have the proper fuses in place now. They are all testing good. Batteries have been removed and NVRAM is in place. So I would imagine that I should be getting a successful boot up this time, and let's see. Alright, we are booted up and we are in a track mode. My guess is that one of those fuses was probably for the solenoids to activate those pins. But yeah, right now it looks like we have a good successful boot. Let me check here. See if I can get a... Yep, manually adding some credits on there. We got a start button here. And pins are resetting properly. And shots are registering. So, everything's looking good. I think our work is done here for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.